Okay, health friends, we are talking about healthy relationships with family and friends. If my voice sounds a little weird, it is because I am in fact sick right now while I'm recording this, but hopefully I sound okay enough to continue the video. Is it ironic that I'm sick while recording a video about health? Perhaps, but nevertheless, we persist. And just wanted to clarify that relationships, right, can be with family and friends. We may have already talked about, depending on the order, about romantic relationships. These are obviously different than that because you are officially related to people in your family, and a friendship is a type of relationship. And all of these things are very important and often come way, way, way before and can be more important than romantic relationships as well. So, what are some common problems that you experience in your family and friend relationships? How do you manage those issues? So, obviously, your goals are not always going to be aligned with everyone around you. At times, you may feel closer to your family than you do your friends, and it can be vice versa. And sometimes the goals of your friends as a friend collective group could be different than your goals that your parents have set for you and what you want to do. I think a lot of your issues with your friends are a little bit more temporary, and your family tends to take a little bit more of a long-term view about what's best for you, and those can certainly conflict at times. So I'm sure you could think of specific things that you've had. Hopefully you've been able to manage those issues before successfully, and gotten over the fact that you had these arguments. Obviously you can find new friends, but it's almost impossible to find new family. So you're going to have to learn how to get over those issues. And this is part of the reason why your parents are sending you to school, is that, you're going to have to work with people that you do not like. And they're maybe not friends, but they're still a relationship you have with them. They're still your peers, and you're going to have to figure that out. And that's a valuable part about being in school, is dealing with all that. So what does your family do? There's like a hierarchy of needs that everyone needs to succeed. And at the bottom of that pyramid, you could say, is the most basic stuff. Your family is required to provide for you food, clothing, and shelter. This is the responsibility of your parents. They have to do this stuff legally, by law. They have to provide you with these things. If they are not doing that, then they are in what's called neglect. Neglect means the failure to provide the needs of a dependent. And you are literally dependent on your parents for all of these things, right? You are not able to make your own shelter. You can't buy a house on your own. You might be able to afford clothing, but you're not legally allowed to have a job right now. So how would you do that without the funds being provided by your parents? And again, you might be able to cook your own food, which would be great if you can, but your parents do provide those things for you. And if they are not, then like I said, they are being negligent in that case. Now, listen, we've all made mistakes. If your parents said that they were going to leave out some money for you for food for dinner one time because they went out and they forgot, I'm not saying that they are necessarily guilty of neglect. They may have just messed up that one time. But if this is an ongoing thing where you are not getting these basic things that you need, somebody needs to step in and take care of you. And that's what the state does, and that's what teachers like myself are keeping an eye out to make sure that you have all those things. But then the next level up are things like love, self-esteem, and feeling comfortable. And hopefully your parents are providing those things, because anyone can kind of provide these first things over here, but this is more, this needs more. This is building you up, making sure that you believe in yourself, giving you praise and attention, and loving comments that you hear. Sadly, there are some people that grow up never hearing these words, never hearing "I love you," and that obviously has a huge, huge, huge impact on their growth the rest of their life. And they're not going to generally be as successful as the people that are hearing those things from their family members. Not always, but it can certainly be the case that there could be something missing from that person's life. So this is the next level up. And then afterwards, there's a next higher level, which are things like passing on the values and traditions that they have onto the next person. There's obviously cultural values that get passed on. I'm sure a lot of things that your parents were taught by their parents, they want to continue with you, and they like to see those traditions continue. I'm sure you can think of all sorts of silly things that maybe don't make a lot of sense, but because your parents did it, you might pass that along if you decide to have children one day. And then, of course, the other great thing is if you decide to have kids one day, you can eschew or choose not to do some of those traditions if you hated them, because then one day you'll be the one that get to be in charge of that stuff. But you may change your view on traditions. I can think of so many lame and cheesy things that my dad did that made me cringe when I was younger. But now that I'm older, you can bet that I'm planning on doing those things as well, because it just, it gives me fond memory of my parents growing up. And maybe you could think of some things like that for you too. I'd like you to write this down. This is effective communication. This is the most important thing in a relationship. The communication process involves sending a message and then receiving feedback from that message. So, of course, you're giving out information. It doesn't always have to be verbal, but you then basically get confirmation from that person that they have heard your message. And that could just be a nod. It could be, yes, I understand you, or yes, I understand. I do this all the time on class. I basically say something and then I say, any questions? Understood? Got it? All those types of things is me trying to get feedback from you, right? Sending that message and making sure that the message has been received. And feedback is a constructive response, because if you are not giving me the feedback that I was expecting, I will try and change up my methods to make it better. So you're going to be doing the same thing, right? You want to make sure that people are understanding each other and that things are not lost in the process. So a couple types of communication. There's obviously verbal communication. This is the most common thing, people talking. Or, it's basically the same thing, just thoughts written down on paper. As the saying goes, good writing is clear thinking made visible. So that's what you learn over time, is the way to be a good writer. Then there's nonverbal communication. That could be your facial expressions. I'm not showing my face right now, but you may know that I'm fond of making lots of different weird faces. One thing I like to do is put one eyebrow up, and that tends to be a look of confusion or skepticism, perhaps. So that could be one way. You can have a puzzled look on your face. I'm confused. If you give a big smile, that might mean that you're happy or that you understand. Nodding is a way to show that you understand. Your body language. If you physically turn and open yourself up to a person, it shows that you are ready to receive the information that you're giving you. If you go up to a bunch of people and they're speaking over their shoulder at you, turning their shoulder and not opening themselves up to you, it kind of gives the impression that they don't want you to join their group. They don't want to talk to you. So you want to be mindful of that. You might be giving mixed messages saying, oh, I really enjoyed talking to you, but your body is not opening up to the fact that you actually are. And you just want to give mixed messages there. Gestures, if I point at you and then wave towards me, that might be me trying to get your attention to come over to me so I don't have to yell your name out in class. I might even hold a finger over my mouth to show it's a very gentle, shh, please don't talk while I'm talking type of thing. And then, of course, there's the tone and volume of your voice. Right now, I'm talking in a somewhat lower volume than I can. I'm sure if you've been in my classroom, you know that I can have a booming voice when I need to. And sometimes if I feel like kids are maybe not getting the memo about what they should be doing, I might strategically raise my volume of my voice at times. But then other times you want to talk really slow and low, and then that makes people lean in a little bit, and you might do that if you're telling a story in a certain exciting way, trying to build up the tension. So playing around with those two different types of things are interesting and important. There's a great video that I'm going to show you. This is a classic video, and the whole thing is based on miscommunication. While this person is saying something, the other person is thinking that an entirely different thing is going on. And the humor is because you hopefully can tell what both of them mean, but they can't tell what each other mean. And maybe you've had this situation before where you're talking and you thought you were on the same page as someone, and then you realize later on, oh, they thought I was talking about this. I was completely talking about this. Maybe they thought, oh, you were talking about Apple, the company, the computer. I was talking about actual apples. Silly example, but you kind of get the point right there.